Hello, my fellow artists. In this session, we're going to talk about what are oils and why I chose them as my favorite medium and the reason why you might have chosen it as well. So oils, they are extremely versatile. No other medium has the same amount of capabilities as oil do. We're going to explore why it's so buttery and why it can be opaque and transparent and how you get those results. So let's look at it. Have you ever thought about how oils are made and what makes them so versatile? The first record of a piece of art done with oils was by a Buddhist artist, and it was some 200 years before Christ. That gives us over 2,000 years of history of oils. This means there has been a long time of exploring different techniques and possibilities. Oil painting is the process of painting with pigments with a medium of drying oil as the binder. Commonly used drying oils include linseed oil, poppy seed oil, walnut oil, and safflower oil. The choice of oil impacts a range of properties to the oil paint, such as the amount of yellowing or drying time. If you look at history, in the past, artists used a variety of different oils, and some of them tended to darken and crack. Nowadays, we mostly use linseed oil, and that is what has proven to be the best option. You don't have to know that much about how they're made, but there are some interesting facts that will help you make a good piece of art. So, how are oil paintings made? You will have pigments extracted from nature in the form of powder, and that powder is then mixed with oil to achieve the right consistency. That's how you used to do it in the past. Nowadays, you can still buy the powdered, or you can even make the powder from nature if you want to, but you can buy it in a tube. Nonetheless, it's good to understand the process because when you're building your layers in your canvas, you have to understand that you need to have the fat over lean concept, and it's a very simple concept, but you have to understand it. Basically, what is fat? It's the oil, right? It's greasy, it's fat. What is lean? Here's the solvent. It's lean because it doesn't have any fat in it. So when you're diluting your painting to get the right consistency, you're going to have a different combination, but usually it's just the two of this and mostly this. But for the lower layers, the first layers, you're going to dilute more into solvent, and that way you can sketch in your canvas. It's perfect for those base washes just to study composition. But as you grow on layer after layer, you're going to add more oil to your oil paint. So that way, when you're using a diluted version of your oils, because it's easier to paint and it will give different qualities like transparency, you're going to be able to do a lot of cool effects. We can get to that later, but you should have a fat layer on top of the lean layer. A fat layer is more flexible than a lean layer, so the flexible layers being on top will avoid the painting from cracking. And now that you've seen how to mix your oils from powder, let's look at why oils have been so popular for hundreds of years. Why do we say oils are incredibly versatile? That means that there are several ways to use it, and I will show you examples in a minute. The fact that it's a slow drying medium allows you plenty of time to work on intricate blending techniques, and also it allows you to do beautiful alla prima work. We'll catch on that later as well. Now let's talk about layers. If by any chance you ever use Photoshop, you would understand the concept of layers and how amazing it is. You can approach layers by using many different ideas. For instance, you can start with a base coat, that's what I do a lot, and then start adding details in time as each layer dries. You can also add a completely new layer, completely opaque, and cover what is underneath. You may also want to use transparency and just add a different tint, a different hue on top of what you already have underneath. The painting straight from the tube is quite thick, so if you apply directly on the canvas, it's a little bit harder to flow, and it's going to have it's going to show the brush stroke, it's going to be, a little bit dry. But you can dilute a little bit by adding some Gamsol or terpenoid with a dab of oil. So now I'm finding a much more fluid consistency to my painting, which makes it a lot easier to cover ground. So this is much more fluid, and it doesn't show the brush stroke. You can do a very smooth layer when it's diluted in that sense. And the reason why we do a thin layer when we start a canvas is that if you want to change your composition, you can just use the solvent and wipe it clean to start over with a clean canvas. I can't tell you enough how much I love oils. The qualities are just amazing. The richness and depth of color in oils you can't compare with any other medium, and I've tried a lot of them. This is definitely the best medium to work with if you're looking for quality. You can also range from opaque to transparent. You can see here a very opaque approach with dry medium, and here a very transparent look. It's almost like watercolor, right? Now let's explore versatility, and that is done a lot through texture. You can see here an idea of approaching using the oils directly from the tube. You can either just leave it as is or spread with a palette knife and, just explore this juicy, buttery texture. It is definitely one of my favorite approaches. And although it has sufficient body to hold the crisp shapes alone, I like every now and then to explore something and add a little fun extra for texture. In this case, I am adding glitter. Go figure. I think it came out really nicely, gave a very cool effect. You can also achieve some nice thick impasto just by using the brush and applying the oil in a very thickly manner. So right there, I am using plenty of oil and applying it without using any medium to dilute it. So you're going to see a lot of brush strokes and it's going to be thick and juicy. Oils can be easily thinned down for sketching or glazing, like I showed you previously, and you can achieve this nice, very smooth look and work on layers one on top of the other without having any texture if you don't want to. And because of its slow drying time, it's the perfect medium for blending techniques. You can make an absolute perfect smooth transition of colors because you have plenty of time to work on it. It's as simple as that. Well, this concludes the session for what are oils. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it's very conceptual, but I really thought it was worth the time, and it makes just a big difference when you understand how your medium behaves, and this should help a lot for you improve your techniques.